All right, everyone, we're live from AT&T Stadium. I'm sorry I had to move around a little bit and find a good spot to go. I went to go to the last spot that I was posted up at last time I did a show here at AT&T Stadium down in Main Club North, but the lighting kind of sucked down there. So I moved up here to a suite, and come on, I'll move over for a second because my angle here doesn't do justice. Look at that. I mean, it's time to play the game, folks. I'll give you a little look at what the stadium looks like out here right now. They're getting set up. We got the helmets out there in the middle. They got the field paint set, those little towels they have for the Taco Bell Live Moss section. They got the Jumbotron going. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is like stuff out of a fairy tale, being able to see this after watching this growing up for my entire childhood. And now I'm finally here at the Cotton Bowl. Like it's awesome. I know if y'all have been tracking, but the weather for this game doesn't look very good. Right now, we're forecasted to get between 3 and 6 inches of snow here in the DFW area, and it's going to be mixing with sleet and freezing rain. So it's going to be really sloppy. I plan to be in attendance at this game. I pray to God that can happen, but we're just going to have to see what's in store on Friday because, as you all know, here in DFW, they're not prepared for storms like this. If they get a dusting of snow, they lose their minds here. We're getting between 3 and 6 inches. It could be even more if it strikes the right way. So we're just going to have to track this storm tomorrow and going into Friday and see that the game should be played per usual. I just hope that I can be in attendance. This podcast here is fueled by Chick-fil-A. I'm being fueled by Chick-fil-A. I mean, I was 12 count, some waffle fries and a lemonade here to get me started, but I'm ready to roll. I'm fired up, ready to roll right into these predictions here. So the first game that we have in store for the slate of football games we have, I think this may be the first time in history that we have 5 consecutive days of playoff football in both sports, of course, college and NFL, but we have 5 consecutive days of playoff football heading our way starting tomorrow night. Can't make this shit up. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It all kicks off tomorrow night in the 305 in Miami, in the Orange Bowl between Penn State's and Notre Dame. And these are 2 old school northern programs. And it's funny where I'm from. This is kind of a rivalry up in upstate New York because you're either a Penn State, a Notre Dame, or a Syracuse fan, or maybe Boston College. There's not really many options up there. So a lot of people gravitate towards both Penn State and Notre Dame for that reason, just to say that they have a school. And so this is just an old school northern matchup between the Nittany Lions and the Fighting Irish. 2 fantastic defenses. I'm a defense guy. Right. And so, I appreciate great offense. You've got to embrace it these days. But the defenses that both these 2 teams have, they're spectacular. And I feel that this will be a low scoring game because of that. Both have great front sevens, both have great secondaries. It's hard to move the ball against both these 2 teams. So just the physical bloodbath that's going to transpire from this game, it's going to be quite entertaining. And so, of course, the big storyline going into this game is Carter for Penn State. He's the Titans are the first round pick. The Titans are the first pick overall. They could roll with Carter. I'm not gonna lie, he is that good. He is my top prospect coming out of this draft. I mean, he has everything: the speed, the way he pivots, his physicality, his technique, his fundamentals. Carter is by far the best in the nation at his position, defensive end. He's one of those edge guys that are poised to make a lot of money. It's unsure whether he's going to play in this game or not because he's nursing the shoulder injury that he sustains against Boise State. James Franklin said he's hopeful, and I'm hopeful that he's hopeful as well because I want to see this young man take the field tomorrow night and put on a show. And they're going to need him to slow down Notre Dame's run game because, of course, that's Notre Dame's strength. Whether it's handing the ball off or using the legs of Riley Leonard, he's very elusive. Notre Dame has a very complimentary offense. Run the ball, pass the ball a little bit too, but they run through you. That's their identity on offense. And so Penn State is going to need Abdul Carter tomorrow night. That's the major storyline going into this game. When I look at this matchup, when I assess this, Penn State is the deeper, more layered, more talented team. And on paper, and you know I don't love that term, but on paper, they should win this game because they are, in theory, the better team than Notre Dame. However, Notre Dame is the kind of team that's designed to beat a team like Penn State. Because how Notre Dame wins these games that they're in is manipulation in a form. They manipulate you into making mistakes. They make you uncomfortable. They don't get uncomfortable, but they make you uncomfortable. And they coerce you into making mistakes. Who is known historically for making mistakes in games of this stature? Penn State. We've seen it a lot. They can be very unhinged in games like this. And you look at a team like Notre Dame, they are designed to make teams like that traverse through a living hell in games like they'll be playing in tomorrow night. Penn State's got everything, right? I mean, from a roster standpoint, there's not a lot of holes that you can poke in this team. Like somebody thought something was very, very funny down there on the field. There's not a lot of holes on this team whatsoever. Drew Aller, and this is a hot take. I haven't seen people have the audacity to say that Drew Aller is the worst of the four quarterbacks remaining. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, he's the best. The way that he has grown from last year to this has been fantastic. The touch on his deep ball is amazing. His elusiveness, he's big, he's physical, he's gotten better at reading defenses, and he's only improving. I think next year, I said this, Drew Aller will be the best quarterback in the country, and I stand on that. Penn State has a two-headed monster at running back, and Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. And they also have one of the best tight end prospects in recent history, and Tyler Warren, who, yes, he can block well, but he's also, I'd categorize him as a receiver too. He runs routes as well as any receiver in the nation would, and he's fantastic getting open, which you need in a receiver. And a defense, Abdul Carter, Kobe King, it's the list goes on. Not a lot of holes that you can poke in this Penn State team. But Notre Dame has that identity where they can find ways to poke holes in this team themselves. Because how does Notre Dame play? They are a defense-first team. I mean, this is old school smash mouth football. It's funny. We said the same thing about Michigan last year. You could make an argument that Notre Dame embodies that identity even more than Michigan did last year. They're ground and pounds, run first, amazing, fundamentally sound defense, and they're so incredibly well coached. Marcus Freeman is locked in. The fundamentals he's helped these players instill, it's second to none. And you see that by the way they play. I mean, this team does not trail often. And you can attribute that somewhat to the schedule that they've had. And I do. But I attribute it to them. Because playing Notre Dame, it's if you're their opponent, it's like a slow, painful death, right? They just catch you in their jaws, and they just hold you there until you get worn out. They force you into making mistakes. They force you into getting uncomfortable. And when you fumble that ball in your own territory, they're going to scoop it up and they're going to convert it into a touchdown. Just like you saw them do against Georgia. Like that has been Notre Dame's blueprint to winning these games. They did the same thing against Indiana. If you go look at Notre Dame's stat line against Indiana or against Georgia, it's nothing sexy at all. It's nothing eye-popping at all. But they just did the little things so fundamentally well. And you saw the same thing with Michigan last year. You go look at their stats against Alabama, their stats against Ohio State, or against Washington. J.J. McCarthy only threw the ball 18 times. And that's all Riley Leonard will have to do tomorrow night as well. He didn't even pass for 100 yards against Georgia. But it was enough to get the job done because they won on special teams. One of the best special teams coaches in the country Notre Dame has. On defense, they suffocated Georgia. And they did just enough on offense to secure a win. For Penn State, the key in this game is going to be escaping the jaws of Notre Dame, right? That's on the scouting report. You want to get the lead first. I cannot stress that enough for Penn State. You've got to get the lead first. You have to get up on this Notre Dame team. If you can get up by multiple possessions, I'm not talking 10-0. I'm talking 14, 17-0. That could be huge in Penn State's favor because I don't think that Notre Dame is a team that's built to make a massive comeback. They're not Ohio State. They're not Texas. It's not a Ferrari. It's a Subaru Forester with snow tires and four-wheel drive. That's who Notre Dame is. And you know what? In a snowstorm like tomorrow night's game is going to be, those cars drive pretty damn good. The key is also going to be playing clean football. If Penn State doesn't turn the ball over tomorrow night, they will win. If they play fundamentally sound football, they will win. If they are efficient in the red zone, they will win. But those are all things I have concerns about when it comes to Penn State, which is why I think that this matchup is tilted in the favor of Notre Dame. Keyword matchup. If Notre Dame were to play a team like Ohio State, that's red hot right now, and one of the best, most unstoppable offenses in the country, and has a bunch of guys to cover, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Emeka Egbuka, the double-headed monster at running back, I would have different reasoning going into that game. But this Penn State game here, this is a team that's known for not having the best red zone efficiency and for being prone to making mistakes in big moments and not capitalizing, not maximizing the moment. They've done it so far, but they have not played a beast like Notre Dame. And I'll also say, too, from a psyche standpoint, I was watching the press conference today before the Orange Bowl. Kind of like a heavyweight matchup. They've got James Franklin right here, Marcus Freeman right here. And James Franklin is doing all this chatter, all this yapping away. Marcus Freeman is sitting there, perfectly composed, locked in. And when I look at that, that's body language. Body language is an indicator of confidence. And right now, I think that Notre Dame has a mental advantage as well. It's all psyche. I think they're more locked in. And that press conference showed me everything I need to know. You can say, oh, well, Brian, it's just words. It's just media. Yeah, it is. I'm not talking about the words. There's nothing much of substance there. I'm talking about body language, how they presented themselves. One guy was yapping away. The other guy sitting there locked in. And it's the quiet ones you got to worry about. And I think that that's going to be Notre Dame's demeanor going into this game as well. The line right now, Notre Dame -1.5. This is going to be a low-scoring battle. I can't wait to watch it. Defensive lunch pail to work kind of game. Give me Penn State. Or no, scratch that. That's what my paper said because I switched my prediction like 6 times. When I was writing this last night, I got my little script over here. I said Penn State. I've switched it to Notre Dame. Give me Notre Dame. 24-20. We're going to go 24-20. Notre Dame's taking it. I can't believe I almost gave the wrong prediction. But I have flip-flopped back and forth on this one. I first went with Notre Dame. And I flipped Penn State after thinking about just all the weapons that they have and that they're a lot faster of a team than Georgia. They can stretch the field better than Georgia did. Or Georgia can. But then I thought about the mental advantage that Notre Dame has in a game like this and their ability to put Penn State in an awkward position where they're going to make turnovers, make mistakes. I like Notre Dame to win this thing. And that is my final verdict. I know I've switched some picks in the past. I'm not switching that one. I'm going with the Irish tomorrow night. All right. From here in Arlington, Texas. Beautiful AT&T Stadium. Look at it out there. She's beautiful. Friday night. Fingers crossed. We've got the Texas Longhorns taking on the red-hot Ohio State Buckeyes. Here in the Cotton Bowl. It's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. It used to be the AT&T Cotton Bowl. It used to be the AT&T Cotton Bowl. Now it's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. You know, there's so many different iterations that we go through when it comes to projecting these games, like iterations of predictions. It's almost, speaking of snowstorm, it's almost like trying to predict a snowstorm or thunderstorm. You've got like 10 or 12 different models, different paths that the storm could take. And my first model had Ohio State winning this thing definitively. When I first looked at this game, I was like, yeah, Ohio State minus 14.5. They're going to beat the brakes off of Texas. And that's easy to do at first glance because you watch Texas just barely escape Arizona State in controversial fashion. That was the result. Targeting call, all the different play calls. It was debated all week last week. And then you see Ohio State absolutely smash Oregon. Ohio State also looks like a buzzsaw right now, too. And so it's easy to see how good they're playing and say, hey, they're peaking at the right time. I just made a video about how they're peaking at the right time. Go check it out. It's on my page. Go check it out right now. Or once you hop off here. And so that's what it looks like in hindsight. Like Ohio State should dominate this thing. But then you think about oh, wow, that was a powerful one. Bless me. Wow. Powerful sneeze. But then you think about how there's different factors involved in this game. Ohio State had already seen Oregon. And in the first time they played, and I got blowback for saying this, I thought that Ohio State looked like the better team than Oregon. In the first game in Eugene, Oregon just had certain things go their way because they're at home. It's very loud, and they have advantages from being there. Texas played a team in Arizona State that they have no familiarity with. And so you have to take that into account as well. You also have to think about the fact that this game is being played in the state of Texas. Ohio State played Oregon out in Pasadena. They have to come to the state of Texas. This bowl here is going to be full of burnt orange on Friday night. Austin is just 3 hours and 45 minutes away. It's close. And they travel well. So do Ohio people. Trust me, when the Bengals played here, it was insane. And Ohio State will do the same thing, if not even better. It's a very passionate fan base. However, there's going to be a lot of burnt orange out there on Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So when you start to factor that in, it doesn't look like as much of a blowout as I had initially perceived. Of course, you'll know within the first few drives. If you're seeing that same dominant version of Ohio State that you saw against Tennessee, that you saw against Oregon, that you saw resurrect after that Michigan loss, which is one of the most embarrassing that I've ever seen in my life. If you see that, in the first couple drives, and Ohio State goes up 17-0 or 21-0 like they have the past 2 games, you're not going to beat that. I mean, it's like playing Alabama basketball in Coleman. Like when they're just firing on all 4 cylinders and scoring at a rapid pace, like there's only so much you're going to do about that. But if they're a little bit slower, Texas gets some stops, and they do something with the ball. We got a different game in our hands, because there's also been, you've seen this iteration of Ohio State in the past too, where they look red hot, and then they'll go into a game like this, and they'll look lost. You know, we saw it back in 2021 when they smoked Michigan State. They had like 42 points at halftime, and they lose to Michigan a few weeks after. Man, missed the college football playoff. Even though they look like one of the most red-hot teams in the country at one point in November. You know, could that happen again? I don't know. It's just something to register in the back of my mind. You can't just stamp this game and say, yeah, Ohio State's going to cruise. No. They've got a huge competitor here in Texas. And pound for pound, I don't think that there's another team that matches up with Ohio State from a talent standpoint better than Texas. I think that this is the best team remaining on Ohio State's schedule if they were to advance and move on to the national championship. This is the best roster that they'll be going up against. There's not many holes on Texas. One of the best D-back rooms in the nation. One of the best defensive lines in the nation. One of the best offensive lines in the nation. An amazing receiving core. Now, Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, and of course, Matthew Golden has really been emerging. Gunnar Helm, there's a lot that Ohio State is going up against on Friday night, even more than they did against Oregon. This is a very, very, very deep team. And if there's any team that's built to go toe-to-toe with Ohio State, it's Texas. The real question is, will they? Because that's been the theme for Texas this year. They have the capability to do this to you, to do that to you, to dominate you in this fashion. But will they? And what I mean by that is Texas never has any issues driving down the field. You know, when they recover the punts, and then they start driving from their own 25, yeah, they get down to your 35, your 30, 25, no issue at all. It's when they get inside the 20 that things start to change a little bit. In the red zone, Texas's efficiency is 90th in the nation. They're awful in the red zone. They get down there, but oftentimes they're escaping with 3 or nothing, not 7. They're also 120th in touchdown percentage in the red zone, which for a team that's in the Final Four is not only concerning but pathetic. They struggle in the red zone. It's been a theme all year long with Texas. There's so many of these games I've looked at with them where I'm like, where you see them match up with someone and like, oh yeah, they're going to blow them out. Arizona State, Kentucky, Arkansas, A&M. Like, oh yeah, they are way better than them. No. It ended up being a closer game, way closer game than expected. They should have destroyed Arizona State. Arizona State took them overtime. Why? Because they were terrible in the red zone, especially in the second half. And getting Quinn Ewers uncomfortable in these situations will be huge as well. Getting him to generate turnovers, throw interceptions, and that Ohio State defense definitely has the ability to do so when it comes to that. Texas is one of the best secondaries in the nation. And right now, the scariest thing about Ohio State is that receiving core. Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, and of course, Jeremiah Smith. If there's any roster out there that's going to slow that down, it's Texas. Only thing is, I just don't think they are. This matchup is almost the exact opposite of the one I was just discussing. Penn State and Notre Dame will be a slower-paced, low-scoring game. This one I expect will be more high-paced, more high-scoring. fireworks, a barn burner, if you will. Because those Ohio State receivers, they're going to get theirs. And so Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. You best believe it. Will Howard playing some of his best football of the season just yet. I mean, this is the Will Howard that we all expected to be. He's been surgical. He's been incredibly accurate. I can't wait to see what he's going to do Friday night. Absolutely peaking at the right time. Ohio State, on the flip side of Texas, they're brilliant in the red zone. They're also one of the least penalized teams in the nation. So not sloppy at all. Texas is going to have to play a nearly perfect game to beat Ohio State on Friday night. Is it out of the realm of possibility? No. I think Sark is a great coach, and I think that this roster is one of the best in the nation. So they are capable of it. The only question is, will they capitalize on the opportunity at hand? Will they force Ohio State into making turnovers? Will they be better in the red zone? Will they score 7 instead of 3? That's the burning question with Texas right now. I think the fact that this game is being played in Texas, there's going to be a lot of burnt orange here. Even though the weather will be kind of shitty here on Friday, there'll be a lot of burnt orange here. And I think this is the best team Ohio State has seen yet this year. And so they're going to go toe-to-toe with them. However, yes, Ohio State is red hot. They're the hottest team in the country right now. I meant what I said when I say nobody wants to line up across this team right now. And I think Texas is no exception. When you get a team as good as Ohio State with as many talented, dependable guys on that team as there is, you expect a certain level of performance. We saw bits and pieces of it throughout the year. We saw glimmers of it, but nothing sustainable. We're seeing it in sustainable fashion now. This is what Ohio State should have looked like all year long. And they're gelling at the right time. Nobody wants to play this team, including Texas. The line right now is Ohio State -6. I think that Ohio State wins, and I think they cover. They're not going to race out to a 21-0 lead in this game. Not here, not against Texas. But I think they will control the tempo of this game. And I think that in the second half, they'll force Texas into some tough spots and force them into making turnovers or mental errors. Penalties even possibly as well. And I think that they eventually get to a point where they can pull away and win this thing. 34-24. That's my final score prediction. A lot more higher scoring than that Orange Bowl. But that's just the matchup we're seeing here. I hope you all enjoy these games coming up here. To end this off here, I want to give a little weather report here. I've got my handy-dandy phone here, my iPhone 15, but I wish I had an iPhone 5S, because I'm an old guy. Tomorrow, Thursday here in Arlington, it's looking like we're going to get 3 to 4 inches of snow. And Friday, we're going to get 1 to 2 inches of snow. And so I'm from northern New York. Translation up there, that's like 8 to 12. As far as the equipment to get rid of that snowfall goes here. No, to melt that ice, to clear all that snow out. It may be tough to get this bowl filled to max capacity, but there will be a lot of people here. Don't get me wrong. And I'm going to try my best to get here as well. But the weather is something that's being monitored going into this game. And let's hope and pray we can get it off as scheduled. I think we will. But I hope y'all enjoy these games this weekend. And if I'm here, I'll definitely have some content for you. But enjoy this playoff football. Thank y'all for hopping on here. And expect me these next couple of days. I will be going live at the end of these games, not only for college football, but NFL as well, as we get deeper into the playoffs. But thank you all for your consistent support. 2025 has been off to a firing start as well. It's off to a very fast start on this channel. So thank you all for hopping on here tonight. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Smash that subscribe button, if you will. And thank you for the support as always and taking your time out of your evening to watch me. Have a great day.